What up, everyone? You know who I am. I'm Jack Slater, aka the Comic Outlaw. Yeah, and I'm back. Now, it occurs to me that Ghostbusters is making a new movie, and I've seen the previews. I did a show on it a while back, Afterlife. You can tell I got a little marshmallow man chilling right here, and you know that I always have a little treat for you guys, a little something special. I have all the Ghostbuster figures. Yes. Now, what is it about Ghostbusters that is so special? Well, part one, like I said before in my other show that you should look up, it was basically guys kind of starting a business. Being that it was busting ghosts or this and that, it's about three scientists. They end up finding out ghosts exist. They figure out ways to trap them, and New York starts exploding with ghosts everywhere. Ghosts are coming out of the woodwork, and they are busy as hell. And this is 1985. Keep this in mind. And these boys are just out rocking and rolling, doing their thing until the big event happens. Gozer is released, and they have to stop Gozer. It becomes this cute little man right here. And Gozer, we also got too. This is another version of Gozer. I like this one. So they're back. And unfortunately, Harold Ramis did pass away. So there will be no Egon, but they are carrying on his legacy, which I am immensely looking forward to. I do know some of the Ghostbusters are going to be back. They've really kept it under the wraps whether or not Bill Murray is going to make an appearance. So we'll find that out maybe at the end of the movie. I don't know. Bill Murray is one of those actors that you never know what he's going to do until he decides to do it. So that's all I can tell you on that one. But as for the other guys, I mean, they've been fully down and ready to do this for a while. Matter of fact, this movie was supposed to come out before the whole Paul Feig incident. And we all know this information because they leaked all these emails from Sony explaining how they screwed Ivan Reitman over and how they screwed Bill Murray over and how they basically just screwed Ghostbusters over. It's just kind of sad that they took a moneymaker like that and just pissed all over it. And unlike a lot of other people, I was actually looking forward to the girl movie. I thought it was cool. I thought the actors were cool. It's just the story was fucking horrible. And you know the stereotype, and women bitch about this often, very often now. Often enough to the point that they don't even use the stereotype anymore about the dumb secretary that's just there to be good looking. They do the same fucking thing. You know, and if it's called sexist when a woman's being a dumb blonde, then it should be called sexist when a man's playing a dumb blonde just to look at and be idolized. And Googled or whatever, you know what I mean? Googly eyes. So, you know what's good for the it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, if you know what the fuck I'm saying about that. That was one of the stupidest appearances I've seen from the actor that played Thor. I should do a bite my burrito on that one. But anyways, this does come with some impressive figures. We have Dana Barrett. Let's go over them. Goza. Ray Stantz, everyone, the heart of the Ghostbusters. Zedmore, Winston Zedmore. Now, actually, he had a lot more in the movie. They had a lot more background story for him. He was in the army. He had a lot of skills, but they ended up cutting a lot of that out, which was kind of bullshit. Of course, we have Peter Venkman, Bill Murray's character, kind of the salesman, the scumbag of the group, which every group needs, especially when you're starting a business. And of course, Egon Spengler. Now, I meant to do this show a while back. You know, difficulties arose, ensued. It's supposed to be a comic, an Outlaw's Corner, where we're going to do this whole thing about it, but we've had difficulties getting people on the show, or multi-dimensional problems arising. So certain heroes had to be in certain places, and certain villains had to be in different places. So it's a little hard to get everyone together, when there's so many things going on. And if you look in the back, they all form one of the mutts, the Ghost, Vince Clorso, which is played by Rick Moranis. You see, apparently, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper, they mate, they get possessed, and they turn into dogs. So yes, Rick Moranis actually slept with Peter Venkman's girlfriend before Peter Venkman did. Kind of funny. But anyways, let's open these up, shall we? Let's check them out. You see, I'm building my displays here, and with all the action figures I have, it does take some time to move and rearrange and put things up just right. When I do finish it, though, I'm thinking about just doing a nice little cascade video so you guys can check it out. Check out all the good stuff I have. Alright, we're going to start with Gozer. Gozer is the main demon, and I suspect the demon, spoilers, for the new movie, I suspect Gozer has something to do with it. It would make sense. Check it out. Alright. And if you don't know, this is the alien that goes, "Are you a god?" And of course, good old Ray answers, "No." Which the all-important lesson that if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes! But, let's just open this up here. And I love the way that it smoothly opens up. Easy to pop out. Alright. Man, these aren't even tied down. Hold that for a minute, Marshmallow Man. See? Pop out the dog's head. That's what Gozer comes with. Man, she's in there. Alright, it's a little more dainty than I thought it was going to be, but it's cool. The arms are a bit difficult to move, but all new toys are like that. Check her out. They really did a good job on her face, the body, and, of course, she comes with her little electro hands, when she shocks everyone after Ray says they're not gods. She's like, yeah, so Gozer can be whatever it wants to be, and it lets man choose whatever form it's going to take to destroy them, and that's where this guy comes from. So Gozer could be a man, a woman, a can of tuna fish. Alright. Next on our happy little list. Ooh. On our happy little list is Dana Barrett, Peter's love interest and cello player, I believe. Of course, she's all dressed up as the Gatekeeper after she's possessed by Gozer, the demons. So let's give this one a little slice and dice. Now, what I do like about these toys is the attention to detail. Crack these suckers open. Now, Dana's in part 1 and part 2. I do not know if she's going to be in Afterlife. She was in the Girl Ghostbusters movie, but her cameo, just like a lot of them, were just a waste of time. So, check it out so far. Man, these guys are in there. They don't need plastic straps, man. Damn. This is, of course, the body of Vince Clorso, the dog. As you can tell, she's in her evening gown. ready to be turned into a dog. One scene when she was actually floating on the bed, you know. And yeah, Dana Barrett also is a particularly important part too, because she has a son that gets possessed, or wants, you know, sort of gets possessed. I mean, like, he's kind of the vessel for Vigo, the next villain. But that didn't turn out too well for Vigo. And since we're opening Dana Barrett, we might as well open Peter Venkman. Peter Venkman's kind of the salesman of the group. You know, the scumbag, the lovable scumbag, I might say, the hustler, the con artist. And you can tell by the first movie how he's hustling people, how he's trying to see what negative reactions on ESP. So basically, he's hitting on this girl and shocking this guy at the same time, trying to get him to a level where he has psychic powers by negative reinforcement, of course. And I love how in part 2, Peter becomes a host of the world of the psychics. It just seems to fit his personality. Now, the Ghostbusters do come with a little bit more. See a trap there, a proton pack, and the foot. Got to be careful not to knock the trap out. There's the foot. We'll put that together here in a bit. And one thing I love, and I really like these about these toys, is how detailed everything is. Look at that. And it happens to be a trap that they find in the new movie that Ant-Man, or Paul Rudd, whatever you want to call him, he ended up being one of the, I guess, new Ghostbusters. And it sort of makes sense how, like, the grandkids never heard of him since it was 1985 and before the internet. Man, they really spend no expensive putting these packs in, do they? Now, the thing about this is you don't want to tear it or rip it. You gotta be very careful. Here's Vanky. And of course, Venkman has the dubious honor of being the first guy slimed by Slimer. I wonder if he did save some for Egon. There's like little switches here where you put on the pack. You just gotta look closely and be careful not to break it. I keep stressing that, but you have to be very careful with these. See if I can just put it in like that. I got one arm here, slipping his big old head. Just slide around like that. And boom, you have a proton pack wearing Peter. Stick in his hand. Now the proton pack is basically a neutron accelerator. You heard me right. So there's many reasons why the government or New York or everyone was worried about these guys actually walking around with these things, because they're nuclear accelerators. Check that out. Check out the proton pack. Look at the detail on that. Really cool. Now, having an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on your back is one thing. Turning it on and using it in public is a completely different thing. But it's the only thing that would bag and tag these ghosts, so. Now, who can we open up next? Let's open up Winston Zeddemore. Check him out. Boom. And he comes with something a little different here. Each Ghostbuster seems to come with different accessories. So we're just going to pop him open and let's check out what he has. Now, they have to released another set of these, I do believe. I was just lucky enough to get them all on the deal. And a deal's a deal. Alright, let's pop this one open. I love how they just come right out. Makes life a lot easier. Alright. You see, like I said, instead of coming with a trap, it comes with a beam. You can hook onto the proton pack. Another foot. Now the beam seems to be in two parts. Feels like it's two different toys rolled into one. So with these proton packs, you got to be gentle popping these out. See if we can. It's going to take some time to get everything displayed and set up, so I'm just trying to give you guys a rough idea of what I'm doing here. Alright. Connects right here. And boom! I got energy flying out of the proton pack. Boom. Alright. Pop out. Instant. And I actually always liked this guy. He was always one of my favorites. I know he didn't get a lot of lines, but he was always a guy going, man, I just work for these guys, man. Come on. Help me out, man. I just work for them. I need my own lawyer. I don't know what's going on. I just want to get paid. Always one of my favorite characters. He was always kind of like the guy that grounded them, because they're always like, oh, we ought to do this and we ought to do that. And he's like, nah. And as you can tell, look how detailed that proton pack is. Look at the energy beam. I mean, it is interesting for what you get. I love the detail they actually put in these figures. They really look like they should be in the movies. They have all the wires, gizmos, all the real cool stuff that make a figure a figure. And now for Ray's stance. Ray is basically, and it is true that they call him the heart of the Ghostbusters for a reason. Now, a lot of freaky deaky stuff seems to happen to Ray. Ray chose to form from Gozer. Ray ends up getting sexually molested by a ghost in part 1. Well, I guess it might have been a dream. And he also gets possessed by Vigo. There's actually a cut scene in Ghostbusters 2 where you start to see him getting possessed little by little, and he starts driving faster, and they ended up cutting it. It is in the comic book, though. Alright. You guys get a fresh look. And he comes, instead of a beam, he comes with these little goggles. You're able to see ghosts and specters and whatnot. And the thing about this stuff is you can actually put it on the different Ghostbusters. That beam can actually go on this gun. And that foot just came out and grabbed me. Ah! Alright. Now, Ray's also the one that put up his house in order to get the firehouse. Ray kind of went broke getting his business up and running. And I don't think he saw a return when he got shut down, if you know what I'm saying. Check it out. I mean, you gotta love the attention to detail. These look like the actors. Everything here looks the way it's supposed to look. Right down the last detail. Look at that. That is Dan Aykroyd right there. That is Ray Stantz. And yes, Ray is the heart of the Ghostbusters. He's actually in Afterlife. If you look at the very last scene, they're calling Ray's a cult, which is the bookstore that he owns in part 2. And he's the one picking up the phone. So busting makes me feel good. Ooh, man, we're going through a lot of them, huh? And last, but certainly not least, Egon. Now, it wasn't just the movies that made these guys popular. It was also the cartoon. The cartoon was out for almost 8 years. I actually talk about that in my other show as well. And that's what actually hooked kids. That's actually what hooked kids like me. Was the movies and then the cartoons that came out. And the cartoons weren't played by the original actors. They changed them around a little bit. Like they made Ray blonde for some reason. Or Egon blonde. They made Egon blonde. Now, this little thing right here, I can get it out without it falling out, is a PKE meter. What it does, is it tells you what little spooks or specters or ghosts are around, and it gives you a reading on how strong they are, what level they are, because there's a bunch of different classes of ghosts, slimers, and other such things. According to a book called Tobin's Spirit Guide. Here's the other foot. I think they've actually released that book. Wow, man, this thing. Getting out the protein, getting out the packs, that's the worst thing. The proton packs. Like I said, you don't want to break the straps. So you got to kind of ease it out. Check out the proton pack. I love the details of these proton packs where you can still see cords and stuff hanging out from them working on them or rebuilding them, retooling them to whatever needs. Egon, Harold Ramis, R.I.P. buddy. Now him and Ray are the ones that actually invent the hardware, the packs, the traps, you know, the PKA meter. And this is the man whose legacy they're going to be talking about. It is grandchildren that find his ranch. And they kind of discover all this stuff about him, about what he used to do. They find an old trap, and they find a ley line with untapped supernatural potential. That's all we know so far. That and Ecto 1 has a cool badass sidecar now with a mobile trap. So they must have been doing something. I don't know how long the Ghostbusters went after 92, but they must have went on long enough for them to improve the car, to do some different improvements, but something must have happened in order to break the team up. And I bet it has something to do with him. And then he ends up moving to the middle of nowhere. Maybe he's guarding the ley lines, maybe he wasn't, maybe he was just studying it. You never know. And that's what makes the story exciting. That's why I want to see it. It's the part 3 that we all needed. And it's nice that they're carrying on the legacy of the Ghostbusters, especially after it had been crapped on so badly. And I mean, and it really didn't help when the girls decided to go on a tangent, calling a lot of the fans mamas hating, or mama's boys who live in their basements. You know, you shouldn't attack the fan base that actually made it and then saying that it's not for them, it's for the newer generation. I'm sorry, ladies, but Ghostbusters are for everyone. Man, woman, child, ghost, alien. It's for everybody. Not just for one generation or the other. And I think that's where they really screwed up on. Man, this guy has a lot of limbs. Alright. They all look the same, too. That's the problem. I think they would have put an instruction manual on this fucking thing. What a cute little pooch, huh? Imagine this guy pissing in your yard. Alright, I think I got it now. Now, this one I don't like. It's the way that it's built. It's real bulky. Certain parts are hard to put in. Like, you can see it has a real deep slot in it. So you got to get it just right. You got to hit that magical sweet spot. And for a lot of these connector figures, it's kind of the way it is. It was that way with a Strongman. You just got to kind of bend and twist these guys until they do what So it does what you say. And as you can see, like, this is my big problem that I have with these connector figures. You actually have to put some work into connecting them. They don't just connect. And this guy, of course, is Louis Tully. Louis Tully is, well, he ends up kind of becoming the accountant for the Ghostbusters, as well as their de facto lawyer. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Alright. Like I said, these things are a pain in the ass. But he ends up becoming the accountant, kind of their go-to man for certain things. Like he says, who does their taxes. He's the one that ends up taking care of their booking and their other stuff. And for some reason, he ends up with Janine. Which I always thought was weird because I thought Egon was supposed to be tapping that. For years, I thought Egon was tapping that. In the cartoon, Egon was tapping that. So I don't... It was just kind of weird that all of a sudden Rick Moranis was the guy that ended up tapping her first. But she's in the newer movie. And apparently she was still friends with Egon because she's the one showing the grandchildren the house. So it's kind of nice that they're having all these legacy people in the movies. But at the same time, it leaves a lot to be desired for all the scripts and all the movies they made between that. There is a famous story about Harold Ramis and Bill Murray actually getting into a feud on Groundhog's Day. And they decided they kind of didn't work or talk to each other for the longest time after that. See, this thing's a pain in the fucking ass. And they, because Bill Murray wanted Groundhog's Day to be darker, Harold wanted it to be lighter. Harold was directing the movie, Bill was starring in it. Both guys had a very bad habit of wanting things their own way. And it ended up into a fight where they didn't talk to each other for years and years. Which was sad because they lost out on an opportunity to make a lot of good movies together. And basically just to hang out, be friends. And it ended up taking Ramis' death for Bill Murray to even consider doing anything for Ghostbusters, or even allowing his voice in the previews where he's all, call it fate, call it karma, you know, where he's singing that song. And that song is famous because it was sung in the original Ghostbusters. This is it right here. This is our little hellhound finally put together. Yeah, ugly motherfucker, isn't he? And set his ass down. I don't want anything to do with him right now. That was a pain in the ass to make. Out of all the Connect toys that I have actually put together, that thing is the biggest pain in the ass I've ever had to do. And you saw it here. Other than that, the toys are excellent. Even that Connector figure is actually very detailed for what it is. It's very light though. It has problems putting stuff in. The legs, the bottom legs don't actually, the connecting pieces don't actually bend, so you can't actually connect it right away. You have to slide it in a certain way, which I do not like at all. But I'm very excited for the movies. Ghostbusters Afterlife, I have high hopes for. The story looks good. They actually did a great job in casting. They've given us a lot, or a rough idea on how and what it's going to be. I like the fact that they decided to take it out of New York and do it somewhere else, which proves that New York isn't the mecca of everything, ghost-wise or otherwise. That the Ghostbusters could be the Ghostbusters in Indiana, California. It's just about a story. And this one is also about legacy, because Reitman's son's going to be directing this. This is all in-house family. And that's the general vibe of the Ghostbusters. They were a group of guys, friends, that got together, formed a business, made it happen, and saved the world, all while making a fast buck. You've got to appreciate that. I have mad love for the cartoons, the series. There was actually an original cartoon the Ghostbusters, which they actually had to buy the names for. So at one point there was 2 Ghostbusters cartoons, one called the Ghostbusters with 2 guys, and I shit you not, an ape. And they had these little devices that would go around blasting ghosts, and one of the ghosts was Primeval. And then you had the real Ghostbusters, which were these Ghostbusters. So yes, and it continued on with the Ghostbusters story. There was actually a story in the cartoon that picked up the day after they destroyed Gozer. And their uniforms got possessed, and it's actually pretty cool. I mean, a lot of those episodes from the Ghostbusters cartoons actually were really good until they became real campy. They started making Slimer in the real Ghostbusters. They made Slimer kind of the main thing, and the show actually took a dip in quality. Yes, and then they made Extreme Ghostbusters, which I think does not get enough credit. Extreme Ghostbusters was really good, and you know, people talk about diversity, but it had a diverse team then too. There was a black guy who was a mechanic. There was a guy in a wheelchair. He was kind of the go-getter. You know what I mean? They had a goth girl, you know, who was kind of like Egon, sort of, you know, had that kind of freaky-deaky, you know, I collect spores, molds, and fungus kind of guy. And then you had a Mexican guy. So it was kind of cool. And then you had Egon as a teacher, and then eventually they brought in the original Ghostbusters for a while. So that show was actually really good. It had a diverse cast. It could have been something that could have went on. And since we're talking about Ghostbusters, let's talk about the unofficial sequel, the video game. Yes, the video game, which did have all the voices of the original Ghostbusters. They did record that was supposed to be a continuation of what happened, and of course Gozer's in that one too, so that's why I'm not going to be surprised if Gozer's in the next one. And if you're sitting there whining and crying about spoilers, just watch the previews and you'll know what the hell I'm talking about. So yeah, Ghostbusters is just a really good movie. I mean, it was just one of those things that was larger than life. I wonder what the logo is going to be. The last one was the ghost like this. Part 2 is him coming out with a big old 2 sign. So we're going to see what Afterlife provides for us. It's going to be very interesting. I'm in for the ride. And as soon as I see the movie, I will be doing a review. I hope you guys enjoy the Ghostbusters. These toys are really worth buying. The connector figure is kind of but these guys are real detailed. They look like the actors. And it's a really good buy. They'll probably be displayed next time you see the show, like right up there. I want to kind of get a mushroom, a marshmallow man, like a bigger one, kind of have them fighting the marshmallow man. I think that'd be kind of cool. But you never know what I'm going to find when I'm looking around the multiverse, if you know what I'm saying. And anyways, whoo, man, this is a long one, ain't it? But that's just the way it has to be when you're talking about the Ghostbusters, because busting makes me feel so good. So remember, kids, adults, anyone. Well, no kids. If you're 18, I consider you a kid. And if you're lower than that, you need to stop watching this fucking show right now, because this show's for everyone 18 and up. When you're hundreds of years old, I mean, you're basically all. And remember, I'm the Comic Outlaw. And I'm open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No job is too big. No fee is too big. So subscribe, like, man. Spread the word. Spread it, man. Tell everyone about Comic Outlaw. What I'm doing, man. Giving you a villain's perspective on stuff. And as always, I'm your main man, Jack Slater. Kicking it with the Ghostbusters. Having a little powwow with a mushroom, with a marshmallow man. Gonna go dinner and dancing with Gozer, if you know what I'm saying. And as always, I'll catch you on the flip side.